did you know April is Neurodiversity Awareness Month? NeuroDiversion 2025 is a conference geared specifically to the neurodivergent community, and it starts tomorrow right here in Austin, the inaugural conference. Founder Chris Guillebeau and Trina Hayes, advocate and creator who created MyLadyADHD.com, are here to tell us more, and we're happy to have them. Y'all, good morning.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Good morning.
Lovely. Okay, Chris, talk to us about NeuroDiversion 2025 and kind of the inspiration behind it.
So I was diagnosed with ADHD as a kid, and I took medication for it then, but kind of like lost track of things for a while. And then like as an adult in my mid-30s, I got re-diagnosed. I was having some trouble focusing, concentrating, started learning a lot more about ADHD and understanding how it was helpful for me to like understand how things work and how my mind works and how I can actually do a lot of things, but I also have struggles. Like I have all these things, right? And so learning all that was super, super helpful. And I got to know people online like Trina who were sharing content. I also did therapy. And I realized that there's not really any central gathering point, no in-person event that celebrates neurodivergence. There are some academic conferences and research conferences, and that's great, but those are mostly for clinicians. And so I was like, wouldn't it be great to bring together people from all over the world, really, but of all backgrounds, of people who are interested in neurodivergence and ADHD and autism, or just in kind of thinking and living differently.
I'm so glad that you use the word celebrates, because I think, sometimes when a kid was diagnosed with ADHD at a young age or that sort of thing, there might be sort of this, I'm wrong, it has to be fixed sort of feeling. So instead, we're celebrating the fact that brains are just built differently, right? That's something that's happening here with neurodivergence. Who is invited to attend this conference?
You know, we want all kinds of folks to attend the conference. So anybody who identifies with ADHD or autism, or could be something else, could be OCD, being a highly sensitive person. Even if you're not diagnosed, if you're just interested in the concept of neurodivergence, a lot of people are kind of learning about it now, sometimes for the first time. Sometimes people are late diagnosed, which Trina might talk about. And so if you at all fit that, if you're like, I want to learn more about that, then it's for you. We also do have clinicians and therapists and people from the mental health community, educators, as well as parents and partners of neurodivergent folks. So it's a really kind of big tent, broad umbrella.
I'm really glad you brought up the support system because that's so important too. Okay, Trina, you do identify as being neurodiverse. And as Chris mentioned, you were diagnosed later in life. Can you tell our audience a little bit more about what it means and kind of a bit about your journey?
Sure. As far as neurodivergence goes, so I think of it as like my brain processes things differently than what might be considered typical. I do have ADHD, so I struggle with things like time management, procrastination, even my emotional regulation. And so, it's hard to think about as just neurodivergence. So neurodiversity is like a wider umbrella that covers things like Chris mentioned. So OCD, autism, dyslexia, there's like a whole umbrella of terms. And so anyone that kind of resonates with that, we just invite them to come to this event because I think it is a group of people that have kind of been left underserved.
Absolutely. And there's still more that we're finding out every single year. So I think it's a good time to get plugged into the community. So Chris, Trina is a big name. She's got about 200,000 followers. It's crazy. She is coming to the convention. I'd like to hear about some of the speakers and the activities that you guys are planning as well.
Yeah, and Trina's actually been part of the core team planning the event for 9 months. We have more than 25 speakers with us. We've got Jessica McCabe. She's the founder of How to ADHD. It's probably the largest YouTube channel for ADHD. We've got Vanessa Van Edwards. She is local to Austin. She's a best-selling author. She gives talks all over the world. Really excited to have her. We really have all kinds of speakers and breakout session leaders and such, but it's not just like a one-to-many kind of event. Like you're not just like sitting and hearing. You're going to hear some great talks, but we have a lot of activities. It's very interactive. It's designed to be kind of sensory friendly, like from start to finish. There's all kinds of fun stuff. We've got a few surprises. I don't want to give everything away, but it's going to be an experience like from start to finish. You can do stuff like morning, afternoon, night to connect with people in lots of different ways. And ultimately that's what it's about. It's connecting with people. It's about community and like feeling like you're not alone.
Absolutely.
Like I'm going to learn and I'm going to be informed, but also I'm going to realize there's a lot of people here who like think like me or who have had struggles like me, but also have strengths and can do things like I do.
Absolutely. And I want to bring up a point that you brought up there just gently, is that sometimes, it can be an overstimulating environment. It's an overstimulating environment at every single conference, let alone a neurodiverse one. You guys have thought about that.
Of course. I am super introverted. I'm probably more introverted than almost everybody coming to the event. So we're going to have a quiet zone that's like always available. You can kind of like turn on or turn off. When you come and register, you get a lanyard. You can choose your choice of color. So there's like green if you're like, yeah, I'm happy to talk to anybody. You know, you go ahead and approach me. There's also yellow, which is kind of like, let me approach you. Right. So this is just a couple of examples. Like, you know, again, throughout the event, we try to think about what are the best ways to accommodate people from a wide range of experiences.
I think that's fantastic. Okay, Trina, you specifically cater to talking to women with ADHD. Can you talk to me a little bit about why you think this topic hits home for so many people? You told me off camera you thought you'd find maybe 5 other women, and you found hundreds of thousands instead.
Yeah, I was late diagnosed just a couple of years ago, actually, along with many, many other women with ADHD. And I think that, like I said earlier, that audience, or that group of people have just been underserved, and they're looking for community. They're looking for people to resonate with. And sometimes advocates like myself have stepped up to help those women find each other. And so that's why there's many communities like mine. There's now several, which is amazing, where you can find other women with ADHD, resonate with them, and feel seen and heard for the first time probably ever. A lot of women feel like aliens their whole life because there's no one that resonates with them. So yeah, it's really been great to find my community, but also to connect so many other women that need that support.
I call it no longer screaming into the void. Someone is there to validate your experience, and especially because women tend to have different presenting symptoms than men do. So it's so important that people start linking up. Okay, in our last minute here, I just want to ask both of y'all. Chris, I'm going to start with you. Any tips for people who maybe identify as neurotypical to have a really successful work relationship, romantic relationship, even just a friendship with someone who identifies as being neurodiverse?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say recognize the great strengths of neurodiversity. We often think of it, as you mentioned, as like a weakness or something to be fixed, but in your company or organization, for example, someone who is neurodiverse is probably pretty good at problem solving. They're a good creative thinker. They actually probably can focus a lot. Like, it's a myth to say that we can't focus. Like, we actually can hyper focus for like a long period of time. So I would say understand the strengths and work with that, because neurodiverse people are great to actually have in your company or organization or as a partner and friend.
I've got to agree. Okay, and Trina, what would you say?
Yeah, a couple things. I think just being open to different communication styles. Like, it might be better like written, verbally, or just being open to that. And then just like radical empathy. I feel like we need more of that, period, but especially in the workplace or with different brains, like just being open to the idea that we don't all think the same, we don't all process things the same, and just having that openness to communicate.
And we don't all have the same thing going on at home, so you never know what someone's carrying to work with them,
100%.
and then putting on a happy face. Radical empathy. I love it. Guys, this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for your time. All right, guys, there are still a few tickets left. To learn more about the event and to purchase your tickets, it starts tomorrow, so you got to get online now. Visit neurodiversion.org.